Well, in just a couple of hours from now, some Georgia lawmakers who support the right to an abortion are going to be holding a news conference. They're proposing a long shot idea regarding the November election.
Atlanta News First's Rebecca Schramm is live at the state capitol this morning. Rebecca, those lawmakers want to put a question on the ballot about abortion rights.
That's right, Gravere and Brooks. A handful of Democrats in the Georgia House have proposed and drafted a resolution. They want voters to decide whether the right to an abortion should be enshrined in the Georgia Constitution. Well, of course, right now in Georgia, most abortions are banned after roughly the 6th week of pregnancy, once cardiac activity can be detected in the womb. So this piece of legislation is a long shot, to say the least. It takes a 2/3 majority in both chambers to get a question on the ballot, and that would be nearly impossible in this heavily Republican state capital for this to happen. But the timing of this news conference is significant after what just happened yesterday in a neighboring state. The Supreme Court of Alabama ruled that frozen embryos are children and that they are protected under the state's Wrongful Death of a Minor Act. That ruling has a lot of people nervous, especially those who perform or are seeking fertility treatments.
Now the court is saying that that's a person. Can we freeze embryos? I don't know. Can you freeze a person? What will happen to all of those embryos? We might see this spread into other states as well.
So here at the Georgia Capitol, Democrats really are trying to get the focus back on reproductive rights. The news conference begins at 9 o'clock this morning. We'll be there, and we'll have updates for you throughout the day. Live at the state capitol, Rebecca Schramm, Atlanta News First.